Well, today we're at the Wharf here in Aalborg. It's part of the Charlie's Pub. And I'm here with owner Iiain and bar manager Fergus. And can you guys tell us a little bit about the history of the Charlie's Pubs?
Yeah, well, I suppose it goes back to around about 98, 99 when I was working in Copenhagen, living in south of Copenhagen, Aalborg, and being really unable to find any decent beer to drink in Carlsberg City. Quite ironic, really, when you think about it. But I found a small backstreet bar called Charlie's Bar that at least was serving what I consider and still consider to be one of the best breweries in the country, Hancock beer.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying the pub, or I ended up buying the bar and turning it into a pub. From the first day, I sort of declared it completely independent from any form of brewery control, including Hancock.
Yeah.
To run the bar as a pub. So, in other words, to concentrate on the cellar.
Yeah.
You may recall us a couple of days ago, a couple of nights back.
Concentrate about the beer.
The most important part of a ship is the engine room. One of the most important part of a public house is the cellar. If anyone says to you that it's the bar, it's the bridge, well, without the engine room, you've got no bar, you've got no bridge.
Yeah.
So it's vital that we run it. I think you would agree.
Oh, I totally agree.
That we run
totally
a
agree.
decent cellar,
Yeah.
run by a professional cellarman or cellarwoman. But normally it's pretty heavy work, so men tend to be more suited to the job. And depending on how well the cellar is run, the quality of the beer will be measured by. Yeah.
Cool. So you started that back in, or bought the Charlie's Bar back in what?
2000. I bought that in December 1999 and opened up in January 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the Wharf here?
That's
the newest edition.
Yeah, that started in July. I bought that Christmas 2001. Spent 6 months on it, working on it with builders and blacksmiths and plumbers and electricians and that, and turning it into the Wharf. And but the centre of this pub was obviously to be cask ale, hence the cask coolers behind the bar. So you don't have to. We essentially brought the cellar, or the cask side of the cellar, to the pub. So you don't actually have to ask, "Am I drinking cask ale?" You can see you're drinking cask ale. So there's a bit of theatre there, and there's drama going on in front of you, which is the whole object of the idea, to sort of educate people on what cask ale was all about.
Yeah.
I consider cask ale to be the best beer in the world.
So how did you manage to get the cask mark? Because not a few places outside of Britain have.
There's only 2 places outside the UK.
In Denmark.
Only 2 places outside the UK that have cask mark, and I'm
By
proud
looking
to.
after our beers.
Yeah.
And looking after our cellar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and that's Charlie's Pub and
Charlie's Bar Copenhagen,
yeah.
Illustrated, and the Wharf in Aalborg.
Yeah. How did you both of you start? How did your interest in beer start? Start with you.
Well, mine started a long time ago. I'm a bit older than Fergus.
Thanks. Can't see it now.
Just a bit, you can't really see it. I mean, I know people would tend to think that I was the youngest. My interest in car scale particularly was stimulated, ignited, or by camera, the rise of camera in the 70s and 80s in the UK, the campaign for real ale. And the fact that they were so successful at what they were doing, obviously had touched a nerve in any beer lover who wanted good beer, as opposed to
Obviously like lagers.
yeah. Well, no, not even lagers, but badly produced keg beer.
Yeah.
Which is what the big breweries wanted to offload onto us, because it was much cheaper to brew boiled, gassy keg beer than to brew real ale.
Getting into beer, real ale. I was brought up in Sussex, in the south of England, and so many fantastic pubs with real ale. And yeah, from a young age, well, youngish, I was in those pubs drinking real ale. At the same time, I developed a passion for wine, and I thought the correspondence between good wine, good real ale, very similar. Lots of flavour without sort of drinking something that was freezing cold, whereas losing all the flavour and yeah, I mean, it all developed into such a serious passion for real ale, and I would say I then turned up in Denmark and thought, my goodness gracious me, what's this here in Aalborg? All these real ales available to me. It was, yeah, that's how it all started, really.
Yeah, so that's kind of how you ended up. How did you end up in Aalborg, actually?
Well, I ended up in Aalborg because of my Danish wife, and then rather conveniently there was a fantastic pub here that served real ale. So that was the rest is history, really. Here we are today.
Yeah, it's quite. If I can just add to that, it's quite a coincidence that three guys who work here: Fergus, John, who looks after the cellar, and myself. Were all brought up in Sussex. I was brought up I went to school in Sussex in the 60s, and in an area which was surrounded by beautiful rustic pubs. And little did I know then that I would be bringing some of that beer, particularly Harvey's at Lewis, over to Denmark for 40 years later. Yeah, I'm proud we have put on the map again, because of course in the past there was a thriving export trade for cask ale, because obviously before kegs were invented in the tail end of the 40s, 50s, of course there was nothing but cask. So of course all beer was exported under its own pressure. There was no artificial pressure added to it. It wasn't. So it was all exported under its own pressure as real ale, undergoing a second fermentation. Another thing I'm very proud of about these two pubs is that we've not only kept alive these old skills of keeping a cellar, looking after a cellar, of knowing how to handle beer, and delivering it to our customers hopefully in the best, in tip-top quality, but also bringing bringing alive these skills again. And otherwise, these skills would be completely lost, totally lost.
Yeah. What's the Wharf got in store? Is there any future plans for the place?
I think hopefully we will expand. We're not resting on our laurels. I think there's definitely a need for a Charlie's in Denmark's second largest city, Aarhus. And who knows? There's life for us and work for us outside the borders of Denmark. Yeah. A lot of our customers, particularly in Copenhagen, are visitors to the country. They've heard about the pub, they've heard about its reputation, these pilgrims come searching for the Holy Grail, as it were. Yeah, which for us is cask ale.
Nice talking to you, Iiain, and Fergus behind the bar again.
Yeah.
Nice getting a little chat and interview about the places. Yeah.
Cheers.
So now we're gonna get a little tour of the cellar here at the Wharf. So yeah.
We're going down to the engine room of the ship. Yes. Here we are. What is it? It's not too cold. It's actually ideal cellar temperature, believe it or not. It's what's that? 13 degrees?
Oh, I can't see it here, but yeah, about
12, 13 degrees, which is ideal temperature for these casks. Obviously, you don't want you want these casks maturing. And they won't be able to mature, just like wine. They won't be able to mature if it's too cold. They will just go to sleep. The yeast in them will go to sleep, and therefore they won't develop. And if it's too hot, of course they will mature too quickly and start to produce quite nasty off flavours and go sour very, very quickly. So. Yeah, this is a compressor to produce compressed air for our keg line system. And when we don't only serve cask ale, we also serve keg beer. But we believe that the keg beers that we serve should actually be served as they were intended to be served at the brewery. So we keep the exact top pressure on the beer as it was kegged at the brewery, and therefore, in order to drive the beer through the line and up to the tap and into the glass, we use compressed air, which is inert, obviously, so it won't affect the beer. It won't saturate the beer. We don't want even keg beer to be saturated with too much gas. If you saturate it with too much gas, you destroy the beer. And as a lot of our keg beers are non-pasteurized, we like to keep the quality there as much as we can. Here we are. So we run these are the gas bottles that keep in top pressure. On the CO2 beers, and top pressure on the mixed gas, the nitrogen CO2 mixed gas beers for the porterhouse beers for our stouts, obviously to produce that cream effect. Yeah, kegs, flow jets to act to push the beer, to transport the beer through the line, using as our transporter gas inert compressed air, as opposed to obviously what most cellars do, using CO2, which harms the beer. We're not into harming any beer. For us, it has to be treated with respect. After all, this is liquid bread. And you wouldn't expect to go to a baker's and get a bad loaf of bread and we don't expect our customers to come into this pub and pay hard-earned money, good money, for a bad pint of beer. We expect our customers to get the best, and that is what they rely upon us to do. That is our job. That's our trade.
That's pretty cool.
It's a little bigger than I thought.
Well, it's a lot bigger than the Charlie's cellar, yes, in Copenhagen, which is an old Copenhagen half cellar. There they have problems, but no, this is a lot bigger and it's useful. Very useful for us. Yeah.
Well, yeah, guys, that was a little view of the cellar here at the Wharf. I hope you enjoyed this on the road video, and yeah, we're gonna say cheers, and we're gonna see you guys in another video.
And thanks for Iiain for the tour.
Yes.
You're welcome. Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.